Hej og velkommen til Data i Sport, podcasten, hvor vi dykker ned i, hvordan data og teknologi er med til at ændre sportens verden. I dag har jeg den helt store glæde af at have Marius Fischer med. Marius er Head of Analysis hos fodboldklubben Viborg FF, og Marius er ekspert inden for brugen, nemlig af data og analytics i fodboldverdenen. Så vi skal dykke ned i nogle helt centrale emner. Men hvorfor har jeg egentlig taget lige Marius med i studiet i dag? Jo, hvis man følger dansk fodbold, så ved man, at Viborg FF i de seneste år har været en af de interessante klubber i forhold til performance, hvor især sæsonen 2022-2023 peakede med en 4. plads. En stor del, måske kan være en del af den maskinpakke, der driver klubben fremad. Data. Marius sidder for bordenden af den udvikling. Så jeg inviterede ham, fordi jeg tænker også, at han kan bygge bro mellem den lidt nørdede debat, der er på sociale medier, hvad man trækker ud af data der, og den faktisk benhårde virkelighed, der er i omklædningsrummet. Så sidste ting for nu af, det er, at det foregår på engelsk, så håber, at du kan følge med. Marius, I just told the listeners that, you're the man who turns the numbers into points on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
But before we get too technical, what should we know about you?
Yeah, as you said, I'm head of analysis at Viborg FF. I joined the club 2021 in the summer. So after they got promoted, head coach at that time was Lars Friis. Yeah, the contact came a bit over Twitter. I was working for a Russian club before, all remote, but I wanted some more identification. And that's how I got in contact with Lars Friis. And then the first 2 years or 2.5 years, I worked remote. So from Germany, mainly doing the opponent analysis. And at that point, I was the only one doing anything in terms of analysis. So everything that I did was an add-on. So, but at some point from both sides, it was clear that we want to work even closer. I was a lot of times traveling to Denmark back and forth from Germany, so that was a lot of stress. Yeah, and then start of 2024, I moved to Denmark full time. And then also became head of analysis, so a small promotion. Now I'm here still.
Nice. Could you share a bit about how you got into the world of football and what essentially attracted you to this part of the industry?
Yeah, so I was a normal football coach in Germany on the youth level. I have my UEFA A license, so that's actually a high one. And I also worked on a good level in German youth football, but it's still pretty hard to make money out of it. So basically you can only do it as a side job. You not really get paid. And then when you have a girlfriend or maybe want to have a family or have a family, it's pretty tough to do both, like have a 9-to-5 job plus being on the training pitch in the evening. It's just not really sustainable. So that's, and then COVID hit 2020.
Yep.
And in Germany, that was pretty tough in terms of lockdown. So we had really tough rules. So we couldn't train. We couldn't basically do anything in football on the pitch for many months. Yeah. So I tried to orient myself a bit into the analysis direction, which I haven't touched before. And then I got in contact with 1 or 2 tactical blogs where I just tried to find a way what I like. Is it player reports? Is it more data? Is it more? So I tried a bit out. And then I started on Twitter. With these passing and goal maps that now in retro perspective was probably a pretty smart idea, because I think I hit a good niche, because of course it was nothing new at that time, but I put a lot of effort in in the aesthetic of it. So I didn't just draw white lines. I wanted to make it look good, and that attracted apparently a lot of people. So I had a good foundation when I then 1 year later started to reach out to some people if they needed like an opponent analysis with the clear idea it should be remote. So that at that time it was not planned for me to really work full time in football, because I still worked as an insurance in an insurance company. And I also thought, why should someone take me? Because there are millions of people like me that think they're good in football. I want to work. Then I got contact with someone from Russia and Sochi, which is a okay Russian club, also pretty forward-minded. I did the opponent analysis. Then my head of analysis went to ZSK Moscow, took me with him. So I had two pretty good clubs in my CV to also then a bit show off. Yeah, but like I said, it was just too far away, and also from the time zone and the identification, it was not perfect. Yeah, and then I got in contact on Twitter with Lars Friis, who had also a Twitter account that he used pretty regular. Yeah, and from there it just developed more and more in, I think at the start when I started there, actually I had no idea what I will even contribute. So it was more like a test, I would say. I had a phone call with Jesper Frelberg, who was the sporting director at that time. And we also agreed that, of course, I work on a freelance base, just trying to contribute what I can do. It was opponent analysis mainly. And then when I was in Denmark, like I would say at the start, it was every 3 months or so for a week or two. Then I had some player talks and tried some more data stuff. And then this season 2023 came with our European run, with our fourth place. And when you're so successful for our expectations, then of course I wanted to be involved more. And there were periods where I've been more in Denmark actually than in Germany. That was at that time I worked actually in a football editorial in Germany, so they were pretty flexible in me being in Denmark while I worked for them. So it was also remote, so I had this flexibility, but it was just a lot of traveling stress. And then we decided, like I said, to move here. Where now, of course, my coaching background is not so relevant anymore. I can sometimes still use it in terms of maybe psychological things, because as a coach I work really close to players, and I think that helps me now. But I'm not doing any coaching stuff anymore. So I'm really just analysis. And for this I had no education, so I didn't take any study in terms of sports management, sports science, or any course. It was just learning by doing, more or less.
Nice. That's also how I roll into the data world, essentially. Learning by doing, and starting in a small startup and getting to know stuff, and then just develop from there, essentially. So I like that way of doing it. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty stuff, so to speak. But before we get into it, kind of the nitty-gritty, could you maybe clarify what kind of raw data that you are actually working with? Are we talking about physical data from GPS West? Oh my God. Event data like passes, shots, or advanced tracking data from cameras, or all of the above?
Yeah, this also developed. So when I started here, of course, we had maybe the access in theory, but not really a lot of use cases for it. So it was a lot of manual work still at the start, and also still now, because we, in terms of our data department, we have now 2 people that work basically for our data department. I'm not part of it. That's a different department, and they do really try to automatize processes. So when I have a task for them, they try to put it in Power BI or Excel. So we're getting there, that we get a bit more independent. But otherwise, of course, right now we use a lot of third-party companies. Of course, we have Y-Scout, which I don't really use for data, but in some cases maybe, because they have a few data things that we otherwise don't have. Then we have Second Spectrum. That's the biggest asset. That's basically the company from the DBU, or from the federation. They have a league package. They used to provide video and data, but the cameras, they were not satisfying for us. So now the videos are filmed in the stadium from Matchday Production. It's basically a company that the federation hired. That's really good. So we are all very happy with it. So in the stadium, I just need to connect to the camera, and then I have all the live pictures on my computer. And there's also a lot of data. So it's basically a platform where you can see all players from all teams data, and millions of filter options. So if I want to see every pass from, I don't know, Jeppe Gröning to Matt Sonnergaard from minute 10 to 20 that went backwards, I can find them in data and in video. And that's, of course, a really good thing for us because we don't have that data warehouse yet where we can produce our own data. We try it step by step to get more independent, but right now I scrape all the data from Second Spectrum.
Yeah.
And physical data, yes, we also have that. We use, of course, GPS vests. But we are not so much visualizing it. It's more a bit to keep track of the physical performance of the players.
Yeah.
And that's basically the data that we use right now. It's actually the biggest part it plays actually in our KPI. So we have I would say 8 to 9 KPIs that we measure after every game.
Okay.
4 of them are more result based. Like, of course, we also look at XG. We look at fair score. That's a metric of our part owners of Football Radar. Bypass opponents, these things, but we also look at some metrics that are more how we want to play. For example, we want to build up short, so we have a KPI that is more on this, or we want to press high, so we have KPI that is related to how our pressure was, and that we evaluate after every game, no matter if we won 5-0 or lost 3-0. So we try to it's, of course, we have in our Viborg style of playbook, it's one of the first sentences is that we look at performance, not results. Of course, that's not so easy. So of course, the results, they play a role, but that's really what we try to do. So we try to think long term, and if the performance and the KPIs go in the right direction, then we're not getting stressed, even though we maybe lose 2 or 3 games in a row, which happened this season. And that's maybe if people ask what are we doing different or what are we doing good, I think it's this, that for many years now we're not getting stressed when we lose 1 or 2 games, because we see the numbers behind, and if they're looking good, then there's no way for us or no reason for us to get stressed or to get maybe reactive, because I think that's a big problem for some teams, that they get too fast, too reactive.
Yeah. And you don't, it sounds like it's set like these 8 KPIs, so it doesn't differentiate between whoever you meet. Like if it's lower tier or higher tier teams, it's the same KPI benchmark. Yeah,
it is. Of course, the interpretation. Of course, then we are flexible. Let's say if we play FC Nordsjælland away, we still have the expectations that we, of course, not going into that game accepting from the start that we will have only 35% possession, for example. But we know that this is probably what will happen in most games. So when we play Fredericia at home, then, of course, we interpret the data different. But long term, also we monitor it a bit closer. Like every 4 games, I make a presentation for our sporting director and the head coach in terms of how was the data in the last 4 games, so that we get a constant picture of how we are developing. And we thought actually about having different KPIs for different opponents, or maybe weight them different. But then, of course, the comparability is not so easy.
No.
So that was in the end the decision why we do it like now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if we go into more during the game, is there any? Do you have? Of course, you got maybe a shitload of data also during the game. But do you do analysis during the game that you then take into the halftime talk, or is it primarily post game?
Data-wise, it's actually mostly post game. We tried. It's like the thing is the raw data, the live data that we could get. It's raw, so we first need to to find a way for us to how to even access it. of course, there are a lot of free apps just on the phone that basically spit out most of the data that is there anyway. So that would not be the problem. But I think we tried it out 1 or 2 years ago at halftime with the conclusion that it's not so relevant for us right now, because in the end, we don't want to do it for the sake of it. It needs to, in the end, it should support a decision. And if I go at halftime, where it's anyway really short time span, so we meet in the halftime, I show them the clips, and then we select the clips, and then we go in the dressing room. So there's not a lot of time to also talk about data. And even if I tell my coach, okay, our XG at halftime was 1.8 and the opponent had 0.3, what does it make?
Yeah.
Like, what does it improve?
Yeah.
Or when I said, okay, there were even like really, really basic data points that made the most sense. For example, there was one game where we lost like 70% of our duels in the first half. That might be something, if the coach writes that down maybe on the whiteboard, where, okay, that's visible for the players. But all the advanced data, I feel like it's not so relevant. We worked actually together for a testing period last season with Ally, that's the name, I think, of the company. It's also from two or three Danish people, from students. They visualized live event and tracking data in terms of that we had a platform where they identify potential counter-attack problems in our structure or the opponent's structure, both ways, which was really interesting. So this event and tracking data live visualized, that's something that could be useful. But of course, you also need to have the people that look at it. My job during the game is to find clips for halftime and communicate with the bench. So I don't really have a lot of time to look at the platform. We have another guy now, an assistant that joined us in November. His task is mainly to tag the whole game live so that the coaches have the tags available after the game. So we should basically need to add another one to look at live data. And the data part live right now is not so relevant for us, actually.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And speaking of where you talk about going down and maybe putting down many data points and say, hey, you can see all these metrics or whatever. So how important is it the importance of intuition here versus data and statistics in these decision-making processes? Of course, you deliver some metrics and KPIs, but the balance between.
Yeah, I think it's not always easy, especially let's say when you're maybe not so successful. And of course, it's about the balance, because I always say, in theory, it sounds good when you say, okay, we look at performance and data, not results. But if the team lost maybe 4 times in a row, and then the head coach stands in the room after the fourth loss, he cannot the fourth time in a row say, but the data looks good, then we lose the team at some point. So you need to have a bit of a finger feeling of when it's right and when it's wrong. But also we try to not only lay the data how we want it. So if there's some data points that are not good, then also then we must be confident enough to also say it. But of course, there's also the institution is still, I think, the most important part. So if we have a discussion who should play right winger, for example, and we have 2 or 3 players in the discussion, it can help. And we had these cases in the past, also this season, where I then brought up some data where I thought, okay, this and that. But the last decision is taken by the head coach. That's how it is. But actually what we try to do in this situation is to get like a full picture. So we have the feeling, the eye test, we have the data, and we have maybe like, maybe some, how should I say it? Maybe also form, which players maybe now better in form, who's not maybe the better player overall, but maybe now fits better for that game. So that we have that in the end, no matter if it's the right or wrong decision, we cannot say to ourselves, okay, did we miss something? So that's what we try to do and that works, I think, pretty fine with all the guys in our coaching stuff together.
Yeah. Okay, nice. And now maybe switching the gear a bit here. So when we record this, your club has recently signed Osman Ado from B93. How much are you part of that recruitment of new players from like a data perspective?
Not so much. So I have not so much to do with scouting. What we've done in the past is that I prepared like presentations for our scouting, our head of scouting or our sporting director when they meet with the players, where I prepared like a presentation in terms of how would they fit in our style of play. That was mainly video, but also data, could also be database. Let's say it's just an example. It's not us, but it could be that, okay, we look for a player that is good at crosses. And then I could put in a presentation, for example, our crossing percentage, which might be low. So that then I put in the player's crossing percentage. So he sees, okay, it's a need for them and I can deliver it. Yeah. So that's how we try to sign players, that we're not only giving them like, we just wave with the money, but we also want to convince them that it's a good fit, style of play wise. And then of course video helps a lot because not every player is into data, but data can also help to maybe prove the point that it's not only because we have, I think, a good tracking record of players coming to us, leaving for more money. So that's also something that, of course, will be brought on the table, that it's not just empty words, but we have a good tracking that you can also prove with data of players coming to us, raising their market value. That's also data in some kind. So
everything is data.
So exactly.
Here in the end, we can talk for hours about this. But helicopter view now. How do you see like this performance analysis and the use of data evolving in the football world? Is there any trends that you see or developments that you see like in next in line or
of course. AI is of course also a big topic. I cannot really say how it will affect us. Of course, some things that we are now doing, you could already replace by AI, but our experience, our feeling is it's of course not perfect. For example, if we tag the game manually, we know exactly which phase, we have the definition of which phase we want to tag, and if that's this phase or that phase, yes, AI can maybe do it, but it cannot do it as good as a human being. Then of course you still need to decide, is that worth hiring a guy doing it, or do you want to spend on technology? So that's right now I think a lot of teams need to ask that question. What do they prefer? I think in 10 years probably you don't need to ask that question anymore, because the technology will be so good that, and also so cheap, because it's technology that we now maybe see as expensive might not be expensive anymore in 10 years. But for me it's what technology cannot replace is like the what you call intuition, or like the empathy, these things that will always be important as a coach, but also in my role, because a lot of data cannot look at how was the atmosphere in the stadium at that moment, or what was the player feeling in that moment, or how was the pressure in that moment. You can only get that by asking him or getting his opinion. So that's why I think there is always a border, no matter how much technology evolves, there will always be a border in my eyes that it will cannot replace anyone. But I think it's also tough to get a time span, because I think in football we notice it's getting slower than in other sports. When you work with data as we do in our club, you always have the feeling that other bigger clubs, they all do it too. No, I know a lot of big clubs that are still like at the beginning in terms of data. Maybe they have all the data, but they don't know how to use it.
Exactly.
So I feel like the data use in football is not as big as maybe we think it is, because we think there's so much money in it. It's yeah. But my experience is a lot of big teams, they have the money, they have the tools, they have the data, but they have no one to use it that knows how to use it. And I think that's still a problem. That of course you also need to have the people believe in it. And I think that is maybe the task for the future in my eyes, that you need to filter out which tools, which technology can help you win football games, because that's in the end the most important thing. Filtering out which is more like a playing thing. Okay, it's nice to have, but it doesn't bring us points, and which is really something that helps us win football games, which of course is not easy to measure. We have now a new training camera since 1 month. If we win now the next 3 games in the Superliga, was that because of that investment? I don't know. Maybe 2%. So it's tough to measure. When we now, I don't know, work with a new data provider, and then we lose 2 games. Was that because of that change? So you see, it's a lot of short and long term balance of these decisions.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking here, the last question is: if we talk like in 2 years' time, how do you then see maybe not your role, but the use of data in Viborgs? Is there like a dream here scenario? You said like maybe not that you have like a big data warehouse, but is there anything that you want to mature or anything like that?
I think getting less dependent on third parties, providers and software, so that we slowly but surely build our own data that is on the one hand belonging to us, so it's our data, and also we can modify it in a way, because we are reliant on how the data provider is defining a pressing. If that's not how we define a pressing, then that's how it is, then we need to live with it. So that would be of course a dream for the future, and then also to be I think we are a data-driven club, but I think we can still improve. So maybe we also need to I think we did it 2 or 3 years ago a bit more often, and sometimes you also get a bit more in your routines and day to day, so you forget about it, that we educate the players even more, that they know exactly what we talk about, so that they buy in this idea that that we measure everything in data. So I think because I think for the players it's also nice. A lot of players they don't like it. They just want to score goals and want to play football. But a lot of players they like data because it gives them orientation, which I think is a big topic for young players, because they don't really know where they are. And then if you show them data, it helps them to get some orientation of what situation they are.
Nice. Marius, that is time allowed for this time. Thank you very much for taking time to answer my data questions.
Thanks for inviting.
Og til dig derude, tak fordi du lyttede med.